So in the beginning of COVID, it was actually on Mother's Day of 2020. I got fired from my favorite job. So this was a job I was working at for 2 years, and I was working at Starbucks for 6 years, and then I left Starbucks for this mom and pop coffee shop. And I even took less money to work there just because I felt like one, it was just less stressful and chaotic. Anyone who's ever worked at Starbucks, they know how crazy that job can be. But really, because I just got a good vibe. The owners, it was a husband and wife. They were meditation teachers. They were Buddhists, and everything they were selling was like it was it was higher quality. It was higher vibration, and I just resonated and connected with them really well. And because they were new, there were a lot of things they didn't know, and I helped them. And we went through a lot of hardships together. There was a lot of firing of people, a lot of friendships on their end they lost because they had to run a business. Um, but for the most part, and those hardships really built our connection. I would even um, play around with their daughter. She would come into the shop and I would joke around with her. She was like 7 when I first started working there, and joke around with her. And then I even got really close with her. She felt like a little annoying cousin or sister or something. I don't know. I got really close with her. So I've been working there for 2 years. They even threw me on my 2 year anniversary. They threw me some, like, almost a big party. It was like a secret thing. And this was in February. So in February of 2020, they threw me this big party. And like, I really felt like I was going to be there until I was done finishing my master's. Like, until that was a good job, I can make my schedule because I was a manager, and it was just perfect. Everything was just smooth sailing. Um, and but I was doing a lot. So I was working full time. I was uh, going to school full time, working there full time, and I was doing a lot. So I asked for a raise literally the week before COVID, and sure enough, COVID happens, and that didn't happen. But when COVID first started, before California put in their lockdown, I was the only one working. I was showing up and opening and closing by myself. I was making all the food and drink by myself. When we made food there, it was full on like cafe food. You make something to order. So I'd go in the back, have to make something from scratch, run out, and then make drinks. So I was really doing a lot for them. And then when the lockdown was put in place, I think it was on the 19th of March. Yeah, I think let's just say it was the 19th of March. Um, I was still willing to come in, but I lived with 4 other roommates. And after talking with them, I felt like it was best if I didn't go to work to potentially catch COVID and then spread it to my roommates. So I called the owners and I told them, hey, I don't feel comfortable coming to work. It was fine. And then I don't hear from them from 2 months. Partially a lot of that's on me too. I didn't check in at that point in my career at this coffee shop. I was kind of like, look, this is just a little side thing until I get my master's and I'm done with school. So I wasn't taking the job as serious. I wasn't putting in as much effort as I did. I was still working hard. Obviously, I was working by myself, but I still wasn't putting in that 100%. So 2 months goes by, and I text the owner saying, hey, I'm ready to come back, and no reply. Then I send her an email, no reply. I text one of the other supervisors who was there, and she said, oh, just contact the owner. Called her, no reply. So at this point, I was getting pretty angry, and I was getting angry because I was nervous and I was anxious, and I was like, I was worried, like, am I not going to have a job? What's going on? Why are they not responding? So I decided, you know what, I just need to go in and talk to the owner. The owner meaning the wife, because she was the one that handled more the personal side of the business, whereas the husband dealt with more the creation side. Creation side, she dealt with the business side of things. So I go in, she wasn't there, and then I was just very angry, and I was angry at the supervisor who I was close with. Yeah, I was pretty close with her, and she didn't let me know. I kind of knew that she knew something and she wasn't telling me. So I kind of lashed out at her in front of customers, and I told her to call the owner. Um, it was not pretty. I was retarded. It's so dumb that I did this, but I told her to call the owner. The owner calls me, and we're like yelling at each other. And I've never seen her mad at me because her and I got along so well. We would joke around, and we got along so well. And I've never seen her mad at me, and I've never really expressed my anger towards her. Um, we were yelling and screaming at each other on the phone, and then that was the last I've heard from them. But one thing I realized was how reactive I came, how angry I got at the potential of losing my job. And of course, that's a nerve wracking thing, and some people deal with anxiety in many different ways. Um, but after sitting and thinking about it, the reason why I was angry, yes, because I was about to lose my job and like, oh, where am I going to find money? We're in lockdown, XYZ. But for the most part, it was a prideful thing. It was rejection. I felt like I was being rejected, and my self-image was taking a hit. My ego was taking a hit, um, because I felt like I was invincible there. I felt like I could have gotten away with anything, um, and I did get away with a lot stuff they're never going to know about. But I felt like I was invincible, and this is what normally happens. This is what happens, right? This is the pride goes before the fall. I think that's the saying. I think Ryan Holiday has that in the book. Um, we saw this with Ronda Rousey. She was the best female fighter in UFC on top of the world. She takes one loss and she really falls into depression. Same things happen with Conor McGregor, um, Tiger Woods. Anyone with a bigger sense of pride or ego where they feel really good in an environment or in a skill, or they feel really successful, powerful, and dominant, anytime they feel like they're losing that status or the qualities that makes them who they are, they act out. They get angry. And I realized again, I was angry because I was scared of feeling bad because I felt like maybe I did something wrong to get fired. And I was afraid of feeling bad and what this badness meant to my identity. Like, am I not as cool as I think I am? Am I not as valuable as I think I am? And just even debating that caused a lot of anger, right? It was, I projected my anger onto them. Again, my anger was valid, right? I mean, for them not to respond to me at all is kind of messed up. I understand that, but I didn't have to react the way I did. So it's like, how do we deal with something that's making us angry without overreacting? But for the bigger picture is the pride. It was my pride that caused me to overreact. So I've been sitting, I sat with this for a while. I watched other videos. Gary Vee, if you don't know who Gary Vee is, he's probably the most popular social media expert on the internet. Look him up on YouTube, look him up on Instagram. Great advice. And he has this saying. He says, I'm the shit, but I'm also a piece of shit. And he said being humble is what prevents him from being reactive or responding to criticism or getting his head too big. Like, he feels really powerful and great right now. He wants to own the Jets, right? This is like his big thing. He's going to be this huge influence that's going to eventually own the Jets. He's even said he wants millions of people at his funeral, right? So he likes that attention. He's okay with it, but he realizes like he's just a guy just trying to help people. I'm the shit person forever because I felt like for so long that I wasn't. So I overcompensated and I never dealt with some of the underlying issues to where I felt like I had to be this like super powerful, charismatic, cool person. And some of the issues I never worked through was codependency. I would work really hard and kind of overdo it and overcompensate just to get people to value me more. And I still do it to this day, but I also do like working hard and just being interactive with life. But I can also chill. I can also watch TV forever. I could watch basketball all day if you give me the chance, or a show, a really good true crime show. I could watch that all day. But for the most part, I like taking on stuff. I like doing more. I like the sense of accomplishment. If I have a list of things that need to get done at work and I'm the guy to get the things done, I like having that list and just boom, 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 boom. But I realized it was hurting me in the long run. I would do these things, work really hard just to get people to put me at a higher level. And so I felt better about myself. Like I'm someone who can take on a bunch of stuff, or I'm the go-to person for this. Codependency also influenced me to work on my charisma and just hyperly focus on getting approval. So codependency is just where you are using approval as your source of value. So I got approval from work. I got approval from other people by being charismatic. So approval was the meat and potatoes of my pride and my identity. If I didn't have that approval, that status, or I felt like I was losing it, I would react. So one thing we have to realize is there's obvious positives to pride and accomplishment, right? It feels good. When you do something, you overcome an obstacle. This is common in sports. When someone scores on someone else, you're like, you feel like you dominated them, you got the best of them. Or when you say a joke and someone laughs and you can tell they like you. These are things that make us feel good, and that's okay. Getting a promotion feels good and you feel accomplished and you feel okay. But what happens is we attach to these things like I did. I was attached to being the hard worker. I was attached to being charismatic and likable. So when you get attached to these things, now your pride and your ego becomes something you have to protect and defend, and you fear losing. That's why I overreacted. I felt like I was losing my identity, my source of positive feelings. So we have to realize there's payoffs of pride, but then there's also some downsides of pride. And anger is one of them. We don't take criticism, so we can never really improve. If we're not willing to look at things we don't do well and only focus on the things we do well, we're never really going to grow into a full person. So I view life as a video game. I'm a character in a video game and I have all these little skills and attributes that I can get up. If I only focus on the 3 that I'm good at and I don't look at the other 3 I'm not good at, I'm not going to be that good in the game of life. Like there's still things I struggle at for the most part. Communication in intimate relationships is still a struggle. I'm probably honestly better than most because this is what I study, but I still struggle. I'm not comfortable with that. I'm not the best with criticism. I know through years of working on my social skills, I know how to turn something around and change someone's opinion. Very manipulative and controlling. I get scared if I feel like I made a mistake and someone above me is seeing that, and I feel like, I'm losing my status in their eyes. And then when that happens, when I feel like, let's say the owner, right now I communicate a lot with the owner of the company I'm working for, and he thinks really highly of me, but when there's some things he points out that need to be changed on the store level, I work at a coffee shop. I'm still in coffee, going on 9 years. So when there's things that need to be changed and I need to make those changes, or I haven't made those changes, I kind of fear, that he's not going to think I'm as good as I am. And then I would think about that scenario all the time. I even see myself getting angry, wanting to leave this job because I fear that disapproval or losing my status, right? So instead of being rejected, I leave before I get rejected. So I realize those fears are overblown and not, they're illusions. They're not real. So we understand the payoffs, all the positive emotions we get from pride, but we also got to realize the negatives we get from it as well. And if we can learn to not hold on to it as much, then we can go through life being more content, more peaceful, and not have all the ups and downs, right? If you don't hold on to the positives and the negatives as much, you just become more neutral. And I think that's what a lot of us are really searching for at the end of the day. We're not searching to always feel happy, because that's actually kind of exhausting. If you always felt happy and energetic, you eventually get tired and you come back down and you sleep and you come back to neutral. or if you're always sad, that also that also can just ruin your energy, and you stay this baseline, this negative, low vibration energy baseline, and you never do anything, right? You never even get to content. You always feel anxious and fearful, or you search for things outside yourself to get those spikes. So I think for most people, even myself, life is pretty much like this instead of just being like this with occasional like this. And if we do have dips are going to happen. I was working 60, 70 hours, just trying to pay for my apartment and just figure out where I'm going to live. And it was crazy. I was very stressed out, but I kind of knew, I felt myself being stressed out. I knew how to like deal with that and bring myself back up to like an is what it is, accepting state. And that state alone is where the positive emotions come. Because if you're down here, you could do something to bring you up here. But I mean, it's better just to be right here and occasionally go here, here, instead of being. But for the most part, we have to understand what the ego is. The positive aspects of yourself aren't really who you are, and the negative aspects about yourself aren't who you are. Like, there's a UFC fighter who, she kept repeating to herself, I'm the best, I'm the best, I'm the best. Now, is that necessarily true? Yeah, she won a fight or whatever, and she kept telling herself she's the best, but is that true? And on the other side of the coin, if she told herself, I'm the worst, I'm the worst, I'm the worst, is that true? Neither of them are true. So whatever you think about yourself isn't necessarily true or false. In therapy, this is a big thing where they look back at someone's past, and you'll see a parent made a comment or something to a child, and that child who comes into the world as a blank slate now takes on this comment of, let's say, oh, the parent says, stop crying, you're weak for crying, or don't eat that, it's bad for you, and if you like that food, you're going to get fat, or that food's going to cause XYZ and you shouldn't like that food. Now this person has an identity of liking sugary food, and that's bad, so they're bad for liking junk food, and they feel bad for having sad emotions. But they came into the world blank. So these are things that someone has told them and they took it on. Likewise, a parent could tell you you're amazing, you're the best ever, and you take that on and you walk around the world feeling invincible. This is what a lot of rich kids struggle with, right? They feel like they can get away with anything, and they're not grounded in reality. So we have to realize what we think about ourselves, a positive opinion about ourselves, negative opinion about ourselves, they both really aren't true. All we are is an animal trying to survive this planet. Don't hold on to your identity as tightly as you do, but cultivate a useful identity. So the UFC fighter who thinks she's the best, she's going to propel more than the one who thinks she's the worst, right? So build an identity that's useful, but don't be used by it. That's it. Till next time.